right, in the folder. So you can, if you want to go back and look at anything that we covered, you can. So yeah, I put questions in Socrative like I would do for any other test review. So go ahead and get logged in. Same room number as always. Answer the first question when you're in there. Looks like 4 people are in. Then we have 7 people in the session. So anybody having trouble managing both tasks?
I'm having an issue getting into it.
Just Socrative?
Yes, ma'am.
What's happening?
It's just like, after we answer a question
Mm-hmm.
and it does that little circle thing, that's all it's doing.
So it's
It's
saying wait,
not even,
it's waiting for me.
I think so.
Okay. So try logging, like try exiting out of it and then going back in.
Sorry.
It's okay. It wouldn't be class without your phone going off, James. So for those of you who are not in the Monday group, this is James. He's a much beloved member of our class. Okay, so yeah, I would try logging out and logging back in because the activity has definitely begun. So it shouldn't be waiting on me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to go to Socrative. I'm going to share my screen with y'all so you can, sweet. So you can like see it like it would be on the big screen in class. And we'll talk about, your answers and stuff. I figured this was better than like putting them on a PowerPoint and having people just shout stuff out.
So
Okay, what's up, James?
it says room name. Is that my name
Uh-huh.
or?
Nope,
Okay.
it's the number I've given you here, 91579.
Okay.
Yep, put that in and then your name and then answer the question. So I got something else to show y'all. So if folks are still logging in, that's okay. Okay, so in this week's folder, there is a document that is basically a study guide for the final that covers kind of the test format. If you need to make this bigger, by the way, there's over on the left-hand side, there's a zoom, or it's like there's where it says show view controls, there's a little plus sign over magnifying glass where you can click on it and it'll zoom in on the document. Unfortunately, anybody who's watching this as a recording later, you can't do that in the recording. It just shows up as like, the normal size. So that's kind of a bummer, but in the session, you can make it as big as you need to. So like it says up at the top, okay, the format of the test is you get 90 minutes to take it unless you have accommodations, in which case you get time and a half. If that's the case, just gently remind me. It has to be through the Student Disability Services, but that should be plenty of time. Okay, it's 50 multiple choice questions that are, I don't know why it says matching because you're not doing any matching, so ignore that. I didn't make this. And then there are some true-false questions too. So the good news is that a lot of the questions on the test are questions you have already seen on the other 2 tests you've taken, right? Grammar questions and the documentation test questions. So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on those today because they are questions you've already seen and you still have access to those old test results. So, just take that for what you will. There are some questions, though, that are not things that you've been tested on already, so that's what we're going to be looking at today, okay? So don't feel bad if you don't get them in the review today. What's important is understanding what you're being asked and how best to answer, and then doing it right the next time. So just like the other tests, taken through Blackboard, Honor Lock is enabled. The settings I've put on for Honor Lock are that you are allowed to use any notes that you take or have taken, and you can use your textbook if you want to. So, use that how you will if you want to. I also set up so you can take bathroom breaks during the time limit if you need to, and that it allows some background noise. So like if you're, I don't know, your sibling wanders into the room randomly and asks you where the hairbrush is, like it won't kick you out of the test or anything like that. Okay. What else? What else? Shouldn't have to do ID and stuff because you've already done that. Oh, yeah, just like with the other tests, if you get kicked out, you can re-enter, but the timer, it's like a one setting deal, so don't go in there until you're ready to take it. If you do get booted out because of some, internet issue, you can re-enter, but the timer is still running while you're out of the test. So make sure you're taking the test somewhere with a good, reliable internet connection, which if you live in the country like me, can be a little tricky. So I feel your pain on that. You may have to go to a, I don't know, friend's house or come here. You can always do it here. We got free Wi-Fi everywhere. Okay, so the topics covered on this test, grammar stuff. All right, so again, repeat questions from that test. Active reading strategies. This is the stuff that, these are the questions we're going to be kind of focusing on today. Writing related stuff. And then MLA documentation stuff. So things, again, that you've already encountered from that other test. Some repeat questions from that. We will, if we have time, we'll look at a few of those and some grammar ones too, but we're not going to look at every single question, 50 questions, because that's just too many. And I want to focus on the ones that are kind of not new concepts, but new questions at least. Okay, so let's check on, so we got 6 people in Socrative, 5 of whom have answered. I'm just gonna, it is what it is. So we're gonna go in there and, oh yeah, because I'm the 7th person, so everyone's in. All right, cool. I always forget that. Anyway, sorry. All right, what am I saying? I'm sharing my screen. So I'm gonna go telescope. It's gonna telescope out for a second. It's gonna look weird. It's all good. Okay, so can y'all see that? Yes, no? Problem is I can't see the chat while I'm in the screen. Does anybody have a? No, you can't?
I can.
You can, great. Okay, so I'm hoping that's what I can exit the window and then see what the chat says, but then I gotta, you know what I mean? So that's the one problem with answering stuff through chat, is that
Everyone is saying yes.
Thank you. All right. You can be my interpreter. Okay, so the question was, which passage would work better for a 2 to 5 page argument essay in an introductory composition course? So the kind of important thing to focus on here is that it's an argument essay, which, I mean, if you're writing an argument, that means that it needs to contain some kind of opinionated stance, like a debatable position that people could argue about. It can't just be like a fact. So let's see how we did. Okay. So let's take a look at the difference between these two, because they're similar, but there's some key differences that would make A better than B. Because students can learn as much from an engaging group discussion as they can from a teacher-centered lecture, the college should impose a college-wide attendance policy that discourages absenteeism, versus maintaining that students can learn as much from an engaging group discussion as they can from a teacher-centered lecture. The college trustees voted to create a campus-wide attendance policy that discourages absenteeism. So what's the key word difference here between A and B that makes A more argumentative than B? Hold on. I hate that I can't see what you're saying. It's big. Yeah, because sure, can be argumentative. Yeah, if you're saying that the cause and effect relationship is, something debatable, sure, which this kind of is.
So I didn't choose A because it started with because.
Well, you can start a sentence with because. There's no law against that. I think the key word here is, so we're not really focusing on grammar per se. We're focusing on the intention, I guess, behind what's being said in one. So with A, it starts with because, but the key word here is should, right? Anytime we talk about what people should or should not do, it means it hasn't happened yet, and there's a possibility that they might not do it, right? That you're arguing that they should do it, versus B, which is saying they already did it. It's done. There's nothing to discuss. It's a fact that they voted this way. There's nothing here about, no opinion about whether that was a good idea or not, versus it hasn't happened yet in this scenario, and this person is arguing that it should happen, which is debatable. Somebody could argue that, like, let's not focus on absenteeism. People have lots of reasons for needing to be absent. Like, if they can come, they'll come. Like, let's figure out other ways to help them. I don't know. It's debatable. That's what makes it an argument. Okay, so choose the passage that would work better as a thesis statement for a 3 to 5 page college paper. So kind of with what we just did in mind, thinking about, okay, which one would kind of open up the most conversation for me to write a paper of that length. Which one is better? Oh my goodness. All right. Let's see how we did. Okay, better. So for those who pick B, I'm guessing you probably saw and maybe were like, well, that's longer and longer is better. But you want to think about the big picture here, right? A 3 to 5 page sized big picture. So even though A is shorter, it leaves a lot more open to be discussed, right? And it's debatable. Because it has become outdated, the Electoral College should be replaced by a system that allows the U.S. president to be elected by direct popular vote. So that's something that people could reasonably disagree on, that a person could have a lot of different reasons to talk about for it. And yeah, it's much more open-ended. Okay, so as a thesis for an entire paper, it would work better versus, yeah, this is longer, but it doesn't leave things open the same way that A does. Rather than voting for a presidential candidate, voters in a U.S. presidential election merely choose their state's electoral college representatives who actually vote for the president. In most states, all the electoral votes go to the candidate who wins the popular vote in that state, no matter how close the outcome. So this is, it's saying a lot, yeah, but it's not, it's all facts. There's no position or opinion here to be further discussed. Now, this could maybe come before the thesis as some background information, but you couldn't like kick off a larger paper with this because you've already said it. Versus this is like, there's so much more to come, an essay's worth even. All right. So again, what's important is that this is making sense so that later you can answer accordingly. Okay. For a research paper arguing against the reopening of a nuclear power plant, which of the following points of view is more effective? Like which one makes the stronger, more compelling, more convincing case? A or B? I'm sorry if you feel rushed to read an answer. You'll have, again, 90 minutes when you actually take the test. Okay. Yeah, good. Yeah. So what's better about B than A? Anybody want to chime in?
Because A is saying that I strongly, that it's my opinion versus being, it's like I know.
Sure. Yeah. B definitely has more authority to it, and it comes across as less personal. Now, with argument, it is based on opinion, but to have a compelling opinion that people will listen to, if you just phrase it as like, well, I know that there's no way this area could be evacuated in an emergency. It's like, okay, well, and who are you exactly? Like, how do you know that? Like, what qualifies you to make an assessment like that? So yeah, that's why even when talking about our personal opinions in an argumentative situation in academic writing, we don't talk about ourselves in the first person, because if it's an opinion, if it's something that is debatable and you're saying it, we know that it's your opinion without you having to say that, and it just comes across, the tone is not as compelling and authoritative. All right. In a paper on the benefits cell phones have brought to developing countries, which version would work better as the topic sentence of a paragraph? So just to kind of review topic sentences here. So if the thesis is kind of the plan or the target for the entire paper, the topic sentence is like a mini thesis for just one of those paragraphs. Okay, it needs to be open-ended enough for you to be able to write an entire paragraph about it, but it can't be like so broad that it would take an entire essay to write about it. So it's a mini thesis. All right, let's see how we did. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. So this would, so if with B, right? A would be good as a thesis for a whole paper, right? There's so much you could say about the ways that cellular cell phones, whatever, have improved the lives of people in developing countries. That would take a whole essay to write. Versus with B, you could write a paragraph about the ways that fishers and farmers have found, use cell phones to market their products. Like, you could write a paragraph about that. That sounds really interesting and cool. I'd love to hear more about that. But this isn't worthy of an entire essay, but it is, you could write a paragraph about it, versus this, which would require a whole essay. So, yeah. Okay. In a paper on commuting patterns in the United States, which version would work well as the topic sentence of a paragraph? So, well, All right. Okay. So yeah, B is just a little bit too specific. I mean, you couldn't write a whole paragraph about the average commute being 24 minutes, but you could write a paragraph about, the reasons why people would be willing to do a commute that length. I mean, honestly, I don't think either of them would make a particularly great topic sentence if it were up to me, but I think A is a little bit too specific too, but it's definitely not as specific as B. So I don't know. I didn't make the test. So yeah, we gotta do what we gotta do. But A is a little bit broader and therefore a better choice for starting a paragraph with. Okay. In a newspaper report on an area's environmental problems, which sentence would better emphasize the reporter's discovery that Megalocorp, not a real company, pretend, was responsible for polluting the river? So which one would better emphasize a reporter's discovery that Megalocorp is responsible for the pollution in the river? All right. Yeah, good. Awesome. Well done. Yeah. A just makes it sound like these things just happen to all be true at the same time. There's no causal relationship here. Raw sewage just somehow entered the river, versus B, which is placing the blame squarely at the feet of Megalocorp. Oh, Megalocorp. Which course description from a student newspaper has more audience appeal? The writer's purpose is to encourage students to sign up for a course in Asian literature. So just ask yourself, if I was gonna have to advertise a course at Greenville Tech to students like you, which one do you think actually would make people interested in signing up for the class? Like, actually interested? All right. Yeah. So for those of you who picked A, you probably saw the second person you, and then you were like, oh, she hates second person you. She hates it so much. We're never supposed to use it. And I love you for that. I love you. If that was your instinct, like, you're the best. And it's not a personal vendetta against second person you. It's just that in academic writing conventions, it's not appropriate. Okay, but sometimes using second person you makes sense. And if you're directly talking to the person who is reading what you're writing, like in a literal sense, in a hey you kind of sense, then it makes sense to do it. So also, I mean, let's be real, you know, is the word inscrutable going to get people excited about taking a class? Or would you see something like that and be like, huh, that seems like a course that is going to use a lot of big and, you know, unnecessarily complicated vocabulary, like inscrutable, and I'm not really feeling excited about that. Versus, all right, if you're sick of the same old thing, if you can't face these classics one more time and you want something different, and will help you get to know the people who inhabit the other side of our shrinking planet, and this class is for you. So yeah, B would probably get the job done better. But I understand if you saw second person you and you went running in the other direction. So, all right, choose the better introduction, the one that, in addition to engaging the reader's attention, states a clear thesis. A thesis that opens things up for further exploration and discussion. Okay. Yeah, B is definitely the better way to go because it gives interesting background information, right? I mean, I think it sounds interesting. I didn't know those things. I never really thought about the idea of sailors like, well, we're just going to go out there and hope that this all works, you know? It's kind of a terrifying prospect. And that it was a self-taught English clockmaker who came up with this, and that it completely changed the field of navigation and therefore the history of our planet. That all sounds really interesting and opens up. I'd like to know more. So that's a good way to start an essay because that's the whole point. Okay, let's get into it. Let's get into the nitty gritty. And then like this stuff is good information, but I would probably save it for the actual body of the essay. Okay, so there are some questions on here about picking the most logical fit, right, in terms of a transitional word or phrase. So which transitional word or phrase in the context of the rest of it makes the most sense to use? So what I don't like about this is such measures is kind of unclear. So let's say many people resist buying new technologies because they think that these inventions do not work as well as the old models. Blank. Because of technological advances, today's water conserving showers and toilets work surprisingly well. Which one makes the most sense? All right. Yeah, so because what this says here goes against or contradicts this thing that people believe. Like people think this, but it's not true, right? There's no consequential relationship here. There's no again, this is kind of a cause and effect thing too. We want to show, all right, people think this, but on the contrary, no, they actually work really well. So by purchasing newer, environmentally friendly clothes washers and dishwashers, you can also conserve water. Blank. You can save more water by running loads only when they are full. All right. Yeah, good. This is in addition to the thing that was just said. You can do this, and you can also do this. Yep. Another way to conserve water is to replace your thirsty lawn with drought-resistant native plants, grasses, and shrubs. If you can't bear to give up your lawn, blank, you can decide to water it early in the morning or late in the evening when it's cooler, less water loss, blah, blah, blah. All right. Yeah, so however would make the most sense, because it's saying, all right, this is the best thing you can do, but if you can't do that, however, you can do this instead. So for instance, would suggest that you're going to give an example of this thing that was just talked about, which is you're not doing. This is just saying, in addition to the things that are already been discussed, but this is saying, if you can't do this, if you can't do this thing, however, you can do this. Okay, which of the following sentences is an opinion? All right. Good. Yeah. So A is not an opinion because that's a fact about the color black, right? It's scientific fact. There's no opinion to be had about it. It doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. It's still true. Versus saying using computers effectively is the most important thing our schools can teach today's students. That's definitely an opinion. It's the most important thing, really. I mean, maybe, but maybe not. So it's like just your opinion, man. Most important? Oh, that's a big claim. All right, what assumption is the author of the following statement making? With the police reporting an increase of violent crimes in the neighborhood, the only answer for concerned families is to buy a gun. So based on that, what is this author making an assumption about? Okay. Yeah, it's assuming that having a gun will make a family safer. That is an assumption being made here. It's not it's not an indisputable fact. It's something this person is going on faith as being true when there's probably a good bit of evidence that there are, in fact, we know there's evidence that there are risks involved with families owning guns in their home. So, all right. Let's see. Judging from the headline and its source, what is the author's purpose for writing? Yeah, it's persuasive. To inform would suggest that there's like it's purely factual information that a person can do what they want with, but there's no they're not trying to convince anyone of anything. There's no debate to be had, meant to be had. Whereas this is clearly taking a position on, it's I guess responding to criticisms of the capitalist system that we currently live under. This person's saying don't blame it on capitalism. But maybe I want to. Tell me why I shouldn't. Persuade me. All right. The following topic is an opinion. Which of the answers gives a fact that supports this topic sentence? So the topic sentence is, it is very important to get in the habit of wearing sunscreen of at least SPF 15 or higher every day. So which of the following is a fact that would support that? Good job. Yep. If you're going to tell me something's important to do, then tell me why. Okay, sorry, that was kind of long. So what is the paragraph's pattern of organization? So before we look at it, our options are, is this paragraph trying to show a cause and effect relationship? Okay, as in like arguing this is what caused something to happen, or this was the effect of something that happened. Is it telling a story? Is it defining a concept or an idea for us? Or is it comparing and contrasting, which y'all are familiar with? So here's the paragraph. While the AFL, the American Federation of Labor, and the Knights of Labor competed for members, radical socialists and anarchists offered different visions of labor's true path. The radicals, many of whom were immigrants steeped in the tradition of European socialism, believed that reform was futile. They called instead for social revolution. Anarchists also wanted revolutionary change, but envisioned a smaller role for the state than the socialists did. Both groups, sensitive to criticism that they preferred revolution in theory to improvements here and now, rallied around the popular issue of the 8-hour workday that we currently have now. So, what's going on here with this paragraph? What is the pattern of organization? All right. Yep, it is. It's definitely not telling a story. I mean, I guess all history is a story, but it's not like a personal narrative of someone's personal experience. It is pretty clearly comparing to political groups and their ideologies and like how they approach, you know, their ideologies, but also what they have in common. They both were stoked on the idea of an 8-hour workday, which seems like totally normal and standard to us, but it was not the case until it was fought for pretty hard. Which word or phrase signals a comparison between things? Oh, excuse me. Yeah, in contrast would show contrast, like differences, but likewise would show same thing with on the contrary. So these two are showing differences, contrast. Likewise is showing similarities, a la comparison, because that's what comparison does. It's looking at the way things are similar. So like the way two groups are similar, or the way two countries are similar in how they approach education, what have you. All right, what is the topic of the following paragraph? Okay. Because it involves multiple forms of communication, public relations is difficult to define precisely. It covers a wide array of actions, such as shaping the image of a politician or celebrity, repairing the image of a major corporation, megalocore, we're looking at you, establishing two-way communication between consumers and companies, and molding wartime propaganda. Broadly defined, public relations refers to the entire range of efforts by an individual, an agency, or an organization attempting to reach or persuade audiences. So, what is the topic of that paragraph we just read? Yep, it is the nature of public relations. Yep, it's definitely not wartime propaganda because that was very briefly mentioned as one tiny detail in a larger topic. And communication is too broad. There's lots of kinds of communication. We're talking about public relations communication specifically. So it's why the word public relations came up so many times. Okay, what is the main idea of the passage? Could immune system functioning also be affected by more common negative life events, such as the death of a spouse, divorce, or marital separation? In a word, yes. Researchers consistently found that the stress caused by the end or disruption of important interpersonal relationships impairs immune function, putting people at greater risk for health problems. And perhaps not surprisingly, chronic stressors that continue for years, such as caring for a family member with Alzheimer's, also diminish immune system functioning. So, what was the main idea there? Yeah, good job. Yeah, try not to get too stressed because it can make you sick. Stress kills. In the following paragraph, which keywords or phrases are repeated to emphasize the topic? Okay, which keywords or phrases are repeated to emphasize the topic? Human resource managers are in charge of hiring new employees as well as training new and existing employees as needed. Human resource managers may also be in charge of periodic employee performance evaluations. In addition, human resource managers are responsible for creating attractive benefits and compensation packages and are frequently called upon to orchestrate employee transfers, promotions, demotions, layoffs, terminations, and retirements. All right, which keywords or phrases are repeated? Yeah, human resource managers. I got tired of saying it after like the fourth time. Good job. All right. So now we're getting into other areas of questions. So this is related to, I think we're heading into we're either going to the grammar or documentation section. I'm not sure, but so the questions are not in this order, by the way, on the test. So which of the following should not be italicized? So let's see if we can remember the rules regarding italics.
On the test, tell us what it is, like a song, TV show, or a book?
The question will look pretty much exactly like this.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be. I literally just took the question and the answers and copy pasted them into the Socrative site, and yeah, I didn't like give hints or anything on any of these. So what you see is what you're going to get. All right, yeah. So just remember the general rule with italics is anything big, like an entire book, an entire movie, an entire website, an entire TV show, an entire database, an entire whatever. If it's big, it goes in italics. If it's one single thing, like a single song, a single chapter in a book, a single article, a single song, like this one song title, if it's little, single, then it goes in quotation marks, not italics. Okay. Oh yeah, we're definitely in grammar town. Okay, which sentence, oh sorry, the following sentence has what kind of error? The motorcycle crashed into the tree, but it was not damaged. So what kind of error is happening here? All right, good job. Yeah, pronoun reciprocation. I don't, what is that? Like, sounds fancy. Sounds like a legitimate grammar error name. It does, but it's not. Yeah, so because we've got it here, but then two things here, motorcycle and tree, it's not clear what the it is here. What got damaged, the motorcycle or the tree? We don't know. So the reference is unclear. What is this it referring to? We don't know. So it's a pronoun reference error. Good job. All right. When a because, so for those of you who didn't like that sentence that started with because way back, let's revisit that. When a because clause appears in a sentence, a comma must always be used, either before or after the clause. True or false? Basically, anytime we use because, there's always got to be a comma. Is that true or false? Ooh, okay. It is not true. Now, it's sometimes true, but it's not always true. So, hold on, let me pull up a whiteboard real quick. It's just like being in class. So if I had something like, because, hold on, it won't show it to you until I've finished. Because I forgot to wake up early, I missed church. So does this need a comma?
No.
It doesn't.
Yes,
Tyler
it
says yes.
It
It
does.
does. Where does it go? Where's our comma?
After early.
Yeah, exactly. So if we, not after the because, yeah, you wouldn't say because I forgot to wake up early and miss church. However, if you flipped the order and said, I missed church because I forgot to wake up early, then there is no comma needed. So we need it if we have the subordinate clause like this, the because clause. If it comes first and we need that pause, then yes, comma. But if we do it as like a straight shot, I missed church because I forgot to wake up early, there's no comma needed. So the answer is false. Sometimes, because sometimes you need it, but you don't always need it. Okay, so not always. Okay, a comma should follow yeah, so for those who picked A, you're not wrong, but it also would follow a dependent clause that begins the sentence, much like because I forgot to wake up early. That's a dependent clause. So we'd have a comma there. An introductory word or phrase would be something like, however, in 1999, comma. So both of those situations demand commas. So the best answer is C. But you're not wrong if you picked A. You're just not completely right. All right. So parallelism. Just to refresh what parallelism is, it basically means like just like in math, it's everything going in the same direction. Okay, so like for instance, if one of the verbs is an ing verb, then like they all need to be ing verbs, that kind of thing. So just try your best. Which one this is asking which one has a problem, which one is not flowing smoothly because it is not parallel. Okay. Yeah, so it's C, right? There's A is fine, it's totally parallel because we've got yesterday while running errands, Aaron went to, and then this right here basically sets the beat for the rest of the sentence. Adair went to the grocery store, Adair went to the mall, Adair went to the dry cleaners, Adair went to the salon. Adair went to all those places, right? So all of those bits, those pieces of the story are all going in the same direction grammatically. Versus C, it's the same with D too. So Adair went to this place and this place, fine. With C, yesterday while running errands, Adair went to the grocery store and shopping at the mall. You know, may not like stick out to you too bad as not flowing, but it should be just Adair went to the grocery store and the mall, right? Because we've already got this went to here. We don't need to throw in a random ing verb here, heading off in a different direction. It just feels and sounds weird. So if you're kind of a musically inclined person, then parallelism makes sort of intuitive sense to you, but not everybody is, I guess. So what is the correct way to fix a comma splice or a fused sentence, also known as a run-on sentence? What is the correct way to fix a comma splice or a run-on? Oh my goodness. Yeah, all the above. Good job, y'all. You can do all of those things to fix a comma splice or a fused sentence. You have options. Okay, identify the sentence with a pronoun agreement error. Pronoun agreement error. Which one has the error? I know they look pretty similar. This is why I don't like multiple choice tests, because everything just starts to blur and look the same after a while. But not to you, because you got it. Yeah, so who's he in the situation? Joe or Adam, we don't know. So you could say they said they would never do it. You could specify which guy, which all three of these did, but you can't just say he, because Who's he? So this is asking you to identify the fused sentence, also known as a run-on sentence. Which one is a run-on? Yeah, see, oh, that's okay. Yeah, so this one's a run-on because we've got two independent clauses, not separated by any punctuation. That's a run-on sentence. So now it's asking you to identify the comma splice. All right, yep. It's the same as one we had before, only it's just using it's trying to use a comma to separate the two, which we know is not strong enough. If we have a coordinating conjunction, a fanboy in there, that's okay. If we have a semicolon, that's okay. This one is the run-on we just had, but just using a comma, it's a comma splice. So those are questions that you've already encountered on the grammar test. So you might want to go back and look at them as you are reviewing, because you should still have access to your test results from when you took the test. Which of the following okay, now we're in citation territory, and these should be like not too terribly hard because you just wrote a whole research paper doing this stuff. So which one of the following parenthetical citations is correct? I mean, they should all have periods, but after the citation, but you know. All right, yeah. Oh, who picked the P? Come on, we don't do that. You know that. I hope you didn't do that in your essay. I'm still grading them. But yeah, it's just last name, no commas or spaces. No, there's a space. No commas or anything. No P's. Just last name, page number. That's it, and then a period. But you know. All right, paraphrasing can be stated as. So which one of these is paraphrasing? When you paraphrase, what are you doing? Woo, okay, so B, all right, the difference between C and B is that this is saying, you know, you put it in your own, it's their idea, you put it in your own words, but what you have is shorter than what they have, versus C, which is saying, okay, it's their idea, you put it in your own words, and it's going to be about the same, take about the same amount of length as theirs did. You know, if they wrote 2 sentences, then you wrote 2 sentences about thereabouts, versus with B, it's like, okay, you took their entire article that they wrote, and then you explained what it was about much more, you know, quickly and shortly, not a word, but hold on. Yes, you did. That everyone who picked B did. So here's your chance to redeem yourself. Summarizing can be stated as, so if paraphrases are the same length, which one is summaries? Yay, okay, easy, yeah, slam dunk, you get this. Okay. Which of the, so I know you don't have like access to a handbook right now probably, but you should be able to use the clues given here to figure out which one of these is most likely the correctly formatted works cited entry. Which one is correctly formatted? Oh, excuse me, I'm tired today. All right. Yeah, it's, so for those who picked D, I can understand why you picked it, because it's all, well, it's pretty close to correct. What's not correct about D is that, remember, if you have 2 authors, then the second author name, we don't do last name, first name for that one. We would just do Joyce Camp like normal. It's only the first name that would be last name, first name. That's just how we do it. But the book title is italicized, so that part's right. We don't, we no longer cite the city of publication because, again, it doesn't really matter these days. We cite the publisher name, like Penguin, Random House, whatever. So A was the best choice because it's got last name, comma, first name. It's got the article title in quotation marks. It's got the website name in italics. It's got the date that it was published, and then it's got the URL for the article. So all the pieces are there. Everything has been formatted correctly. So I know doing that without an example is probably kind of hard, but you will have your handbook if you want to double check when you actually take the test. Okay, which of the following is a correctly formatted in-text citation? So just take your time because the differences are subtle but significant. They're easy to miss. Which one is a correctly formatted in-text citation? Yeah, good job. So A is the best one because we've got a signal phrase here naming James Smitherly. We have a page number citation, and then everything's where it's supposed to be. So with B, it would be fine, but the quotation marks shouldn't be here after the citation. They should be before the citation. If it didn't have that, that'd be great. But that's just, I told you the differences were teeny tiny, but significant ones. Okay, so good job. Last question in our review today, and then we'll wrap up. Quotations, summaries, and or paraphrases need citation, either signal phrases or parenthetical. So stuff you quoted, summarized, or paraphrased from sources needs to be cited, either as a signal phrase or a parenthetical. True or false? Whew, whoever picked false. Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, it needs to be, oh yeah. So remember, when in doubt, cite, okay, but it doesn't matter how you brought the source material into your paper. If it did not originate from your own imagination and brain, if it's someone else's ideas and content information, if you referenced outside source material, whether you quoted it or put it in your own words, doesn't matter. We still need to know where you learned it, okay? Either by giving us a signal phrase, like according to so-and-so, or waiting and having a parenthetical citation, you know, so-and-so, or if you don't have an author name, article title. Okay, so this was not all of our questions for the test. There are 15 more. And then you're like, why can't you just give us the full 15? Come on, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. This is pretty nice. So the other questions, though, I mean, they are, like I said, they are not ones that you have that you haven't encountered already. They have been repurposed from the other tests. So, you know, we've gone over ones that you're unfamiliar with. We've gone over a few that you have seen before. The remaining 15 are in the tests that you've already taken. So if I were in your position, that's where I would be headed, is going back to my test results, seeing which ones I had issues with and reviewing those. Okay? You're welcome. Any other questions about the final or anything else? You've got until Sunday, just like always, got until Sunday to take it. I wouldn't wait until, like, you know, 11 p.m. on Sunday night to take it, just in case something goes wrong. But I guess I don't like to live on the edge like that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate allowing me to be here.
Oh yeah, of course. I appreciate you taking the opportunity.